Life in India's financial capital, Mumbai, remains disrupted due to caste protests. The protesters are against violence in a nearby city in which a man was killed. On Monday, a 28-year-old man was killed in Pune in clashes with right-wing Hindu groups after celebrations of the 200th anniversary of a battle Dalits won against an upper caste ruler. Over 200,000 doctors across India went on a 12-hour strike on Tuesday against a bill that allows their counterparts from alternative medicines to practice allopathy after a bridge course. The strike came as National Medical Commission Bill 2017 came up for discussion in lower house of Parliament. It was tabled in the Parliament last week. Diamond industry investor in Surat city will face the heat after UAE introduced VAT for the first time in their country. UAE is second largest diamond trading hub in the world and is one of India's prime exporting destinations. UAE has introduced 5% VAT on most goods and services to boost revenue. Devotees thronged Ramanatha's Swami temple in southern Rameshwaram city on Tuesday to pay obeisance to Lord Shiva, the destroyer of evil, on the occasion of Arudara Darshan. Devotees were seen queued up in the temple to get a glimpse. Nataraja, idol of Lord Shiva, is a festival of celebrating the cosmic ecstatic dance of the Hindu Lord Shiva. Next up is international news, starting off with the United States is hearing reports that North Korea might be preparing for another missile test. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley said on Tuesday morning that it would necessitate tougher steps against Pyongyang. Some 100 Iranians in exile demonstrated in Berlin in support of the protest movement at home, saying they had received information that arrested people are being put under pressure to make false claims. Iran is stepping up a crackdown against anti-government protests that pose the most audacious challenge to its clerical leadership since 2009. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley praised the courage of Iranian demonstrators and said protests across the country were spontaneous, not driven by outside forces. After she read out social media posts written by Iranians in support of the protests, Haley dismissed Iranian leaders' contention that the protests were designed by Iran's enemies. Iran reopened two crossings with Iraqi Kurdistan on Tuesday that it had closed at the request of the Iraqi government after the semi-autonomous region voted in favor of independence in a referendum. After the referendum in September of 2017, Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi ordered troops to take control of areas claimed by both Baghdad and the Kurdish government. President Donald Trump said in a tweet the United States may withhold payments to Palestinians because they are no longer willing to talk peace. He said Washington gives Palestinians hundreds of millions of dollars a year and gets no appreciation or respect. They don't even want to negotiate a long overdue peace treaty with Israel. Hundreds of demonstrators supporting charities linked to terrorist Hafiz Saeed staged a protest in Lahore against Pakistan's plans to seize control of the organizations. Pakistan's civilian government detailed its plans for the takeover of Saeed's two charities in a secret order to various provincial and federal governments on December 19th. Family members of the fallen have arrived on the scene in Peru when at least 25 people died on Tuesday when the bus on which they were traveling collided with a truck and careened off a cliff along a sharply curving highway north of the capital, Lima. The death toll could rise because the bus had been carrying as many as 40 passengers. At least 12 people were hurt on Tuesday as a fire tore through an apartment building in the Bronx. just days after another blaze in the New York City borough killed 12 people. One of the injuries was serious and potentially life-threatening, while the others were minor. More than 200 firefighters will still battle the blaze in frigid temperatures of around 15 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 hours after it started, the cause is yet to be determined. A candlelight vigil has been held to honor a sheriff's deputy shot dead while responding to a call-out on the outskirts of Denver, Colorado. 29-year-old Zachary Parrish was killed in an ambush at apartment complex in Highlands Ranch on Sunday. 4 other deputies and 2 civilians were also wounded in the shootout. A senior executive at the world's largest hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates, was among 12 killed when their plane crashed and exploded on Sunday in Costa Rica as the country steps up investigations into the tragedy. The Greek people remain pessimistic about the country's economy despite the colorful New Year celebrations being regarded as a sign of economic recovery by the local media. The public opinion is Greece is that it's hard to expand production and to create more jobs due to heavy burden of paying the debts. They believe deflation in the country may last for another 5 to 10 years. French President Emmanuel Macron will pay a state visit to China from January 8 to 10 at the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping. It is Macron's first state visit to China since he assumed the presidency in May 2017. German police have asked prosecutors to investigate a far-right lawmaker for possible incitement to hatred after she criticized a police force for tweeting in Arabic, quote-unquote, to appease the barbaric Muslim rapist hordes of men. Nine inmates were killed and 14 were injured and dozens escaped in a prison riot in the latest example of Brazil's continuing difficulties maintaining control over its notoriously violent penal system. Reports suggest 106 prisoners escaped the prison in the city of Goiânia after near the capital of Brasilia. Authorities recaptured 27 of the escapees, but the rest remained at large. Two nephews of Venezuela's First Lady were sentenced to 18 years in prison following their convictions in New York on U.S. drug trafficking charges. Lawyers for both defendants had asked for a shorter sentence of 10 years, while prosecution had sought 30. The duo were convicted in November 2016 by a jury of conspiring to import cocaine into the United States. Hollywood stars including Reese Witherspoon, Jessica Chastain and Natalie Portman have backed a campaign against sexual harassment called Time's Up as donations flood in for a multi-million-dollar legal fund to fight abuse cases in the workplace. In an open letter in the New York Times, they said they particularly wanted to lift up the voices of women in low-wage industries whose lack of financial stability left them vulnerable to exploitation. Longtime New York City Ballet chief Peter Martin said he was retiring from the prestigious dance company and from the American School of Ballet, where he is chairman of faculty after allegations of sexual harassment and verbal and physical abuse of dancers. He is the latest of dozens of high-profile men in media, entertainment and politics that have retired, resigned or been fired in the past few months following accusations of sexual harassment or assault. Former Peruvian President Alberto Fujimori is showing a positive response to treatment but has shown some short periods of instability, his doctor said on Tuesday. Fujimori's lead doctor said Fujimori would remain in intermediate care on full rest with restricted visits. He added that he did not know when Fujimori would be discharged nor his destination after discharge. Liberian President-elect George Weah set modest goals for his 6-year term, calling for Liberia to start exporting crops and repair decrepit infrastructure. In his first interview since winning elections last week, Weah rode a wave of the youth support to capture more than 60% of the vote in last Tuesday's runoff. The head of the Roman Catholic Church in Congo condemned a crackdown on protest against President Joseph Kabila as barbarism is escalating a confrontation between the government and one of the country's most powerful institutions. New York City will install more than 1,500 new barrier posts on sidewalks and plazas to protect pedestrians from vehicles after at least 2 instances last year of drivers killing people in after mounting the curb. The thin cylindrical waist-height metal posts called bollards are intended to be a more attractive alternative to the hulking concrete blocks. Opposition leaders in Honduras called on citizens to exercise an uprising against President Juan Orlando, citing fraud in recent elections that secured another mandate for the incumbent. TV star Salvador Nasrallah, who claimed victory in the November 26 elections after early results put him ahead of Hernandez, has been locked in a bitter row over the vote count since the process broke down and suddenly swung in the president's favor. The dispute has sparked deadly protests and a nighttime curfew in the poor, violent Central American country. The conservation group Sea Shepherd, working with the Mexican Navy, drove poachers off protected Banquitia's habitat and saved the life of an endangered Toto barfish from their illegal nets off the coast of Baja, California, despite gunshots being fired at their drone. Three people were rescued from a car stuck in an icy waters in Boyd's, Maryland. Videos uploaded to social media showed the 3 people climbing out of the car from a window and boarding a rescue boat. Manatees sought warmer waters in Florida as people across the United States grapple with cold weather. A record-shattering Arctic freeze kept its grip on the U.S. Northeast, closing schools and affecting travel on the first business day of 2018. And forecasters warned the region could be walloped by snow later in the week. China's 33rd and 34th Antarctic expedition team spent a very busy New Year holiday. Researchers from the fixed-wing aircraft groups of the 34th expedition team had been conducted studies on the Antarctic geological resource, environment and the icy cover stability for 3 consecutive nights. Because the equipment on the country's first polar fixed-wing aircraft, Zhuanging 601 or Snow Eagle, can get higher quality data at night. A patrol unit of the Chinese border troops stationed at a sanitary post on the China-Kazakhstan border completed their routine border patrolling on the first day of 2018 with something unforgettable, taking a solemn patriotic oath as their New Year resolution. While many people enjoying the dazzling festivities being held across Chinese cities for celebrating the New Year, some others have opted to spend the 3-day holiday on tours, finding Mother Nature's beauty, trekking down winding pathways amid breathtaking snow scenery in the Phoenix Mountains of Northeast China is one of such tours. The event attracted 300 hiking enthusiasts from and outside China to participate. Boxing is a tough sport, but so are the grannies of the Cosmos City, a suburb in the South Africa's economic capital, Johannesburg. Aged between 75 and 80 years old, they box to fight the aches and pains of old age and to keep fit. The gym offers 2 sessions a week that includes cardio and boxing exercises like sparring and hitting the punching bag. Eventually, they can challenge each another inside the ring. Games of Thrones stars Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke will host the 75th Golden Globe Awards in Los Angeles on Sunday, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association announced on Tuesday. Others joining the star-studded list of presenters include Gal Gadot, Kelly Clarkson, Amy Poehler and Kerry Washington.